Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back. Out here running my Yikong TB7, I think also known as the YK4073, also the FMS Ridge Racer as of late. They are now selling this in the US on the FMS website as the Ridge Racer. It no longer has this livery on it, which I think is kind of a shame. I can see why, because it would definitely be like some licensing issues, but I think this one looks super cool, very realistic. And yeah, we're gonna get out, rip it here and see how it does. It's very similar to, I'd say, like the UDR, probably the most similar in terms of sizing. The wheels, tires are a little bit bigger than the UDR, and it's a little bit wider, but other than that, it is like a 1/7 scale, just like the UDR. Also similar to how I have my Hammer Ray set up, which would be like a true U4 style truck that's capable of doing some like mild rock crawling, some trailing, but then also ripping some trails pretty fast. So we're gonna see where this truck wants to live, whether or not it just wants to be more of a high-speed truck like the UDR, or kind of an all-purpose rig like my Hammer Ray is. My Hammer Ray is definitely not the best at going fast. It's a little bit too narrow still. It's a little bit tippy. I've got it dialed in pretty good and I'm pretty happy with it, but I think this is definitely gonna be better at the high speed stuff. Maybe not quite as good at the low speed stuff, but we'll see. I do also have an 8th scale Hobbywing axe system that I'm gonna be putting in this, and it's gonna have a lot better drag brake and remote adjustable drag brake, which should be very cool. It's going to be censored, so it'll have a lot better low speed control. But we're going to rip this thing stock first and see how it runs, and we'll go from there. And then I'll do like kind of a breakdown video and let you guys know what I think of it. I know for sure the center diff needs some tuning. It doesn't seem like there's much fluid in there at all. So I'll go through the diffs and kind of set them up, but just want to get an initial idea of how this thing performs and what direction it wants to go. So let's give it a rip and see. This is on 6S. See what happens. I did learn that this controller has a gyro. The receiver has a gyro and you can adjust it on the controller here. Let me show you. Out of the box, this thing handled so crazy. I didn't know what was going on. The steering was all over the place. I thought it was an issue with the servo saver. Ended up being the gyro here. You can adjust on channel 5. You can turn this up or down for more or less gyro effect. And it was cranked all the way up. And when it's all the way up, this thing acts completely insane. It's just way too much. So I'd recommend turning it down almost completely off and just dial it up slowly until you get the desired result. But you don't really need it that bad on this truck, but I'm gonna change this out anyway. I'm gonna go with my FlySky GT5 on here because I know that gyro works really well and I'm happy with that controller. This thing, it's okay, but the gyro is a little funky, so we'll see how that works. Sure is a good looking truck though. So I'm going to be focusing mainly on the driving experience in this video, and then in the next video I will do a breakdown, go over all of the mechanical aspects of this truck, pull the diffs out, see how well filled they are, and do a little bit of tuning if necessary. And also I will be installing that axe system along with my FlySky GT5 radio, see if we can improve this thing a little bit. But I have to say that out of the box, this truck is truly impressive and an absolute blast to drive. I had so much fun with this truck. I think this is probably, no, I wouldn't even say probably. This is definitely my favorite RC truck out of the box ever. This thing performed so well. You don't really need to change too much on this thing to have fun with it. You know, I just have the other parts available, so I'm going to try to improve it, and we'll see what happens. But you can see right here, the diff is just so open, and I think it's mainly the center diff. You just get no drive to the rear. And you'll notice throughout the video at times, I muted the volume for the slow-mo just because it always has like bizarre annoying sounds in slow motion, but in the regular speed here, you can probably hear like the high-pitched whining noise that this gets, and I think it's mainly due to the center diff. Just seems like it's empty. And I think it's just the gear noise from in that center diff. So we'll find out. I'll pull that out in the next video and we'll take a close look at it. So let's talk suspension. You can see here running up and down this really rocky fire road section. Got some slow-mo here. You can really see those wheels tracking the ground about as best as they can at speed. You know, these tires are pretty hard and a little bit bouncy. I think softer tires would definitely help cushion it even more, but the suspension out of the box is pretty damn dialed. The spring rate feels right. The damping feels right, the fluid in there. I will also mention that the manual that comes with this is really good. It actually does have a good breakdown of all the parts, and they actually list all of the fluids in the shocks and the diffs and everything else. And it's real easy to kind of pick your way through there and figure out what's what. So I do really like that. But yeah, they got this thing pretty well dialed. I don't know if I can really make any huge improvements on the suspension. I need to run this thing a little bit more. I know there are some guys doing I think the Traxxas variable damper kit will fit in these shocks. I don't know if it's necessary yet. I need to run it more and see how it works out, but really happy with it, man. The thing handles great. You do see that I roll this thing over a handful of times. I think that's mainly due to the tires. They're pretty slippy in terms of they're just like a hard compound, and it seems like they either slip a lot or all at once they just grip. They catch an edge, and a lot of it just has to do with them being a little bit slippery and sliding around in the back. You really start to push harder with the truck and just drive it faster into turns and try to slide it around, and you start getting a little too dependent on being able to just slide the rear around to turn it more sharply. And every once in a while, it's just gonna hook something in the terrain, a little root or a rock that's embedded in the ground. And it's just gonna catch the edge of that tire and roll it over. So I think it's really just more of a driving style change, and you do have to take it a little bit slower in the turns. It does have a fairly high center of gravity with the suspension sitting up that high in the rear. Really can't compare it to like something like a trophy truck, like a UDR in that respect. But you could see here, man, it just really soaks everything up until it doesn't. You're always going to find the limits, and that's really the case with this truck. Is right off the bat, I started getting comfortable pushing this thing to its limits in terms of the suspension, and yeah, every once in a while it's gonna bite you. But you can see here, hitting some jumps, it really soaks up the landings nice. And yeah, I'm just really happy with it. Like I said, the tires, I think definitely room for improvement depending on the terrain you're running it on. I do want to try out some of the Proline Hyrax U4s. I have some other wheels I can mount them up on. I do just want to be careful. I don't want to add a lot of weight to this truck. Maybe I'll end up doing like some plastic UDR wheels just to keep it light, but we'll see. It's going to be fun to kind of test and tune on this truck. But man, yeah, out of the box, super, super fun. In terms of power, really happy with the stock system. It's nice and punchy. I'm running this on 6S. I did try it on 4S, and it also does really well on 4S, so can't complain about that. Stock servo is extremely good. Really good power, really good speed, and you can bump up the BEC on that. So this has a Hobbywing ESC in it. I hooked up a tuning card to it, a programming card, and it has even though it's labeled an RTR ESC, it has all of the tuning functionality of their regular ESC. So you can go in and change things like drag brake and punch level and bump the BEC up. I just wasn't sure on the servo. We'll get more into that when I do like the technical breakdown of this, but I wasn't sure if the servo was going to handle the higher voltage, so I didn't mess with it yet. But even just stock as it comes, really happy with the steering on this thing. Once you get the gyro tuned down a little bit, I recommend starting with it off and work your way up a little bit. Steering is really quite good on this. Power is good. It's very fast. I was definitely getting some heat from the motor. It was a pretty warm day. And the faster I was ripping this around, motor was getting very hot. So I highly recommend doing a fan on that. That's going to be something I do pretty much immediately. But other than that, very happy with the electronics. Even the stock controller is pretty good. It's fine for what it is. I wouldn't rush out to change that if you had to spend money. If you have something else already on hand that you prefer, yeah, of course, just swap that out. But overall, really good. Lights are really nice on this thing. Did notice a strange thing that when I do kind of give it throttle, the lights dim. I'm not sure if that's an issue with the receiver or what, but I'll be changing that stuff out anyway. You see here, I took a pretty good smash to the front end, and that's another thing I'll talk about now. Durability. This thing took a pretty good beating. Initially I set out to try to be careful with it, but man, I really smashed this thing a few times, like landing hard on, from jumps onto rocks with the rear axle, smacking those front A-arms into rocks and roots, and zero issues the entire day. I didn't have a single thing go wrong with this. My very first initial test run in my backyard track, front axle nut came loose, but Probably my fault for not double checking. You should always double check stuff like that when you get a new RTR, because you never know what's going on in the factory. But I threw a new axle nut on it, tightened everything up. Haven't had a problem since. But so durability wise, I think this thing is really tough. I think it's going to hold up extremely well. I was not taking it easy toward the end of this run, and no issues. Body is nice, thick, heavy duty Lexan. The decals that come with this Yikong version, super nice, heavy duty vinyl decals. They really nailed the whole livery on this. All of the sponsored decals are very realistic looking. And this thing looks so much, like the real thing, that it's even more impressive that they were able to get a very scale looking truck like this to perform this well. A lot of times there's always a trade-off. The more scale you go, kind of you sacrifice a little bit of performance for scale looks, but they nailed it with this thing, man. I think it has just the right blend of scale features, but then also like functionality and, not going overboard with the scale stuff. Like the light bar on the top, on the real truck doesn't quite look like this, but I understand why they did this. This one's a lot more protected where it sits a little bit lower. And yeah, lights held up good, so that's always a good sign too. Yeah, you can see there, landed on a rock. No issue. I mean, the bottom of this truck, I'll show you later on, it's a little beat up looking, a little gouged up on the plastic and the aluminum chassis, but overall, nothing broke, so really happy with that. So in the near future, I am going to put this truck up against probably my Hammer Ray and my Rift and just see which one ends up doing the best in terms of, abilities, but also how much fun they are to drive, because my Rift has always been my number one. I think this truck could possibly beat out the Rift in terms of just going out and having fun with an RC. It's going to be close though. I did drive the Rift 2 days after driving this one and filming this, and it's tough. I can't really decide right now. I'm gonna have to literally do like a head-to-head. They're both good at specific things, but then they are just also a complete blast to just go out and bash around in the woods and just kind of do a little bit of everything with it. And yeah, so we'll see. Stay tuned for that. So my thoughts, quick review on this thing. I wish I could stay out here and run this thing more. The bugs are really getting out of control right now. It's getting kind of late. I need to go home and eat some dinner, but this thing is a freaking blast. This is the most fun I've had with any RC in a very long time. It is kind of the perfect blend between, I'd say like a UDR, a Hammer Ray, maybe even a Rift. It's just so much fun to drive. You can launch this thing up and over rocks and roots and over little gaps in the woods, off ledges and stuff, and it just takes it. This thing has taken a lot of abuse today with zero issues. Had a few grinding noises. I think it was just like some stones that got caught up in the front axles here. But just reversed real quick and they came right out. The suspension on this thing is awesome. It is super dialed right out of the box. I didn't do anything to this, and it just soaks up everything. Really nice, quick wheel action, but it also handles the big hits pretty well. I mean, dual dampers front and rear, similar to a UDR here. You get the cover off here and I'll show you guys. Yeah, it just kind of hinges back like that, which is super cool. You can see the shocks here. The motor did get pretty damn hot, and I wasn't really ripping this thing full throttle. I mean, you see the way I was driving, got really hot. Definitely need to put a motor fin on here. Not a ton of room in here, but you could definitely squeeze something in. Gonna have to relocate the receiver box. That's part of this spur gear cover too. Gonna relocate that. Might put a better, like a more of a waterproof receiver box in here, and then I could squeeze in, I think up top here I could fit a fan. But I'm gonna be changing this motor out anyway. It works really well stock. I just do really think it's gonna be even better with the AX system, with the remote adjustable drag brake. It's gonna be a lot more controllable. It's not gonna just get in that kind of runaway mode when it starts going downhill. You'll be able to dial in a little bit of drag brake to keep it from doing that, and probably get a little bit better control too overall, being that it will be a censored motor. Gearing wise was pretty good. If I were just bashing around in the woods like I was here today, I would definitely gear this down a little bit. It's pretty damn fast as it is. Man, this thing took some slams, and let's check out the bottom here. I mean, I rocked this thing a couple times. There's a little stone caught up in there, but I mean, smacked the crap out of this front bumper, and everything held up. Landed crazy hard on a few rocks. You can see the rear axle, but it just took it. It took it, man. I can't believe the durability of this thing is impressive. Really impressive. Tires for all around just general purpose bashing, these are pretty good. They're very hard rubber. Hopefully they break in a little bit. Not the greatest on rocks in terms of traction or even just soaking up some of the hits, but it is kind of fun to rip around in the gravel and the stone because it slides a little bit. But you also see that I caught an edge quite a few times where I kind of just pushed a little too hard into a turn and then it just caught and rolled over. Maybe different tires would cure that issue, but they're not bad. Maybe they just need to break in a little bit, hopefully. The bad thing with these is they're a very odd size. So the wheel size is a 2.2 3.0, similar to a UDR. So you could use any UDR wheels on here. But the tires are bigger, so you would have to find a 2.2 3.0 that is taller than a UDR tire. So maybe like the Proline U4 Hyrax would be good. We'll have to look into that. I'm pretty happy with these though overall. I think this thing performed extremely well today. Definitely need to do a little bit of diff tuning. I don't think I'm going to go too crazy because I like being able to just have to throttle up to get the wheel speed. And I don't want to go breaking stuff on this. And I know when you go too heavy on diff fluid in conditions like this, where you're really gassing it through rocks and chunky terrain, you put a lot of strain on the drivetrain if your diff fluid is too heavy and it's too locked up. So I'm going to go little by little until I get to a point where it's just about right. And that's kind of about it, man. The stock servo worked really well. Like I said, I'm going to change out the radio to a Fly Sky so I can really fine-tune that that gyro a little bit more. It was okay today, not too bad. Steering is really nice on this truck, but man, it took some abuse and like zero issues. Body still looks good, lights are all still working, bumpers look good, axles, I mean everything. Definitely has a bit of a high-pitched whine to it, and I thought it was the gear mesh at first, but gear mesh seems fine. So I almost think it's the center diff just really is mostly empty, and I think it's noisy because it is an aluminum, you can see in there, it's an aluminum diff case, and I don't know if maybe that's where the noise is coming from, but I don't know. It's definitely, if I can make this thing a little quieter, it would be that much better. But man, this thing is a beast. I absolutely love this truck. This is everything I wanted my Hammer Ray to be right out of the box, and it wasn't. I eventually got it closer, but this is better right now. This is absolutely better. It's a little bit bigger. It's way more stable. It's better at speed. It kind of does everything the Hammer Ray does a little bit better. It does everything the UDR does. Yeah, not quite as good in turns and stuff, but man, it's a really great all-around truck. And I'm real curious to see with a little bit more tuning how much better this thing could even be. So stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna have a lot more on this truck in the near future. I mean, the body even goes on nice and easy. So huge bonus for that. Compared to the Hammer Ray or the UDR, this thing is so much easier to work on. It's not even funny. I mean, boom, that's it. You get to the servo, you get to the ESC, the motor, everything right there. Super easy. Yeah, it's also, get on there. It also reminds me a lot of my Super Rock Ray, and I've taken that up in the woods here, same spot, and had a blast with that thing. But this is almost, it's even more fun because it's lighter. It's very similar, but I think the lightweight makes this thing a little more agile, a little poppier. You can launch it up over stuff a little bit easier. And when you do crash this thing, I feel like it's a little less chance of breaking stuff than the Super Rock Ray. Even though the Super Rock Ray's held up pretty well, it's so heavy. I'm always nervous with that thing. I kind of hold back a little bit more. And this, I don't know, man. This might be the truck. I really love this thing. So yeah, that's a wrap, guys. I had a blast with this truck. Stay tuned. You're going to be seeing a lot of this thing. I'm going to be doing some upgrades, some tuning to this. It doesn't need much, and I don't want to detract from the performance. So I'm going to be careful about what I do. Absolute blast. If you guys are on the fence about this thing, just buy one, man. Check out AliExpress. You find some really killer deals on the Yikong version, or go to FMS. If you're scared of ordering from China right now, go to FMS, pick up the Ridge Racer. Awesome truck. I don't really have any doubt that this thing is going to hold up to some long-term abuse. I've been following these online for a while. There's a few guys that have them and have run the crap out of them, and there's really not much that goes wrong with them. Everything is really beefy on this thing and durable. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. You're going to see a lot more of this thing later.